Hello and welcome to Cataclysm Magazine. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and we're speaking today with Chokesetter drummer Larry Bone. How you doing today, Larry?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, now, I got to tell you, Larry, I never heard of a band until your publicist sent me a press release on the band, but I'm digging what I'm hearing. So how long has the band been around, and where are you guys from?
We're from South Bend, Indiana, which is basically the northern middle part of Indiana, and we have been around probably since about I'd say maybe like 2018.
Yeah, and I got to ask, Larry Bone, that's also not your real name. Is that a nickname, or is that just something you came up for to have for a stage name?
It's basically it's a nickname I've had since high school.
That's cool. That's cool. I
my last name is like hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
If you mess it up, I'm not too keen, so I just kind of go by the last name Bone.
I mean, it kind of is a fitting name too for a drummer, I think. So let's talk about where you guys are from, Indiana. Is there much of a rock or even a metal scene there?
Well, it's kind of going through some weird transitions. When we were younger and playing in bands, the scene started out small, and then it grew really well with like a good handful of bands that stayed friends and were consistent about throwing shows together. And then, of course, there was the major generation change over the years. You know, the scene around here has been really strong, you know, especially like on the metal side. There's like a lot of metal bands.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Doing a lot. Huh?
That's good to hear. You know,
yeah.
Heavy metal.
But the problem is we're running out of venues to play.
Wow.
COVID messed up a lot of things, and places are just not doing live music anymore. So, yeah, we've kind of just been resorting on playing out of town a lot. So.
Yeah, and the latest album, that was released, correct me if I'm wrong, 2020, or how long ago was that released?
It was released 2020, yeah. It was actually supposed to come out beginning of April, but the pandemic hit the month before and canceled our CD release show, and then, of course, we didn't play a gig for a year and a half. So,
oh, wow.
You know, yeah, the album kind of just sat dormant. We waited until it was safe enough to go out in public. There were bands playing shows before that, but it was only in front of like 20, 30 people. It was just not worth it. It wasn't the same.
Oh, sure. I mean, and so, like, what was that first show like when you guys, I mean, that must have been like a real kind of comeback show, not playing a show in a year.
Actually, it really wasn't all that good of a show. We got asked to play on a Thursday night here in our own
Okay.
And they didn't even draw, you know. It's like we got invited to do it, and the guys wanted to do it. I didn't really want to, but it was good to play in front of our band, you know. But after we played first, and after we played, a whole bunch of people left. So like the band's quote on tour didn't really get much, you know, headway. And I was like, well, if nobody's heard of them, why would you put them like after us, you know? So I don't know. It's bad promotion, bad idea. We certainly had better shows after that. So.
Oh well, that's good to hear. But you know, like how many of the new songs, like I guess, have you played so far off this new album? I mean, it came out in 2020, but it really is kind of like a new album because people are probably finally just hearing this stuff for the first time.
Yeah, well, the management company we've been working with, Pavement, they're pushing this as like a new thing because we are just getting out there. You know, we're just started trying to branch out, playing outside of our hometown and states, so doing regionally, and they're helping push it, you know, across the country and stuff like that. So that's good. But we've been playing these songs for, you know, like, probably a good year plus. You know, we have a few new ones we wrote that we also play in the set, but we haven't recorded them yet. That's probably something we're going to do in the spring. Put out like another 2-3 song little deal, just to kind of get some new material out there for people that have heard our songs over the time. And plus, we got a new bass player recently within the last few months, and we're gonna put out some material that he's helped write as well. So. And
how's he fitting in? Is he somebody that you knew from the music scene, or was there an audition process?
No, he's an old friend of ours from just around town. In fact, before we lost our last bass player, he was coming with us to out-of-town gigs to run sound because he's actually a sound engineer.
Oh, wow.
As well as being a super talented musician. He's run sound for like Nonpoint, Disturbed, front of house for them for a lot of tours. I mean, countless number of bands.
A real pro there, yeah, wow.
Yeah. So when we played out of town, we were like, let's just pay him as a sound guy so that way we at least sounded good. But then we lost the bass player we had really suddenly, and turns out he learned our set in like 4 days, and we were able to keep going without. We missed one show, but it was a local gig, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But we were able to pick right back up, so
I mean, that
was good.
That's a real common thing. I understand. Guys that start out as crew members, and then eventually, they play instruments, whatever. They end up joining bands. I mean, I know years ago, Slaughter, when their guitar player was killed in a car accident, his sound man was his replacement. I mean, it's kind of interesting,
Yeah. I mean, it's a point of professionalism. You want to get the right person to get the job done.
Yeah.
Because the band is a business, but it also helps because our bass player Dustin, that's in the band now, he's a super good friend. He's also really inspirational to be around. Really positive-minded person. So it's like he
good
he
vibes,
gives you gusto. Just good vibes. We have a really, really good time together.
And it's gotta help. It's gotta be a good situation, being that he's a friend of the band, somebody you guys knew, as opposed to maybe getting a new guy that didn't fit in, and you have to take the time to see if it works or not, and what the chemistry and all that is.
Yeah, and in bands that we've been in the past, we've learned from experience that can be a real nightmare. So we are fortunate in that aspect for sure. So
and it seems like he's worked out, which is good. But you being the drummer, it's very important, that the drummer and the bass player are kind of locked in. I mean, how worried were you about that before you decided on this guy?
Oh, I mean, the previous guy and I, we locked in pretty well. We just, after a while, we didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. Which
that happens. That's life,
departure,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody's doing better now. And of course, the current single is for the song Motorboater. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, interestingly enough, when I listen to some of your guys' stuff, I don't want to say you guys sound like Motorhead, but there's a little element of that in there with maybe kind of a modern sound. Do you think that's a fair description of what you guys do?
We don't really get compared to Motorhead much,
okay, interesting.
We have several influences, you know what I mean? So
yeah, let's talk about, because the other day when we were going to do the interview, and then we were unable to do it because the internet and the power was going out where I was. You started talking about some interesting influences that you guys have, so I think people will dig hearing about some of that.
Well, I know Steve had mentioned, he's really big into like Van Halen, even some Frank Zappa, stuff like that. Our tastes go all over the place, and me personally, I'll go down a rabbit hole like with different genres all the time. 1 week I'll be listening to like stoner rock or progressive rock, and the next I'm listening to like electronica and trip hop, and I have a very versatile. I love old school R&B, like old Motown and like the 60s Al Green, and all that stuff. So I just flip all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
maybe that's a better description. As I sit here talking to you, maybe like I would kind of describe it maybe better, like a modern metal band mixed with old school.
Yeah, I mean, we get compared to Clutch a lot, even though Motorboater doesn't sound like a Clutch song. And I think that's more because of how our singer is his persona on stage. We do have some groovier songs that kind of have a bluesy swing and stuff, but we're also, we're just like a straight rock and roll band that we just take our own influence and sounds. Motorboater is just kind of like the mesh of what you heard.
Sure. I mean, I was listening to another song, Bela Lugosi. That's a cool song to me. I mean, obvious question. Is that based on the famous horror actor Bela Lugosi or anything like that?
Oh yeah, no, it's totally a song about Dracula if you listen to the lyrics. But no, that song, we were writing the music, and I actually just was like, I don't know why, but this riff reminds me of Dracula. So it's like we wrote on the board in our studio as like a total title of the song, like in the works, Bela Lugosi, and it just kind of stuck. We never mentioned his name in the song, but it's a song about Dracula.
Well, I mean, that's obvious reference point. And so I was curious, how big of a fan of you guys of those old classic horror films, like Dracula and the Frankenstein and that?
The other guys, I would imagine they are, because we agreed on the song. I'm huge. I love horror movies, and my whole house just has pictures and weird shit all over the place, or stuff. Sorry, I don't know if I can cut.
No, sure, we're on the internet. That's fine. That's fine, Larry. And so I always love to ask people too, because I know one of the hardest things to do is come up with a band name. Chokesetter is kind of one word, kind of simple, but I think it kind of describes the sound. I mean, how did you guys come up with that?
That actually came up. A friend of mine came up with that name. I used to live in New Orleans, and I was starting a band with a couple of guys I'd met down there, and we were kind of doing something along like the stoner rock feel. Okay. And we were talking about a band name, and if it's one thing a band will always tell you, it's hard to come up with a name everybody agrees with. They'll just come up with a list, and you're going, no, that's stupid, no, that doesn't make sense, and da-da-da-da. It's a common tale, Yeah. Well, when we were together down there, my friend Josh was just like, hey, we should start a band called Chokesetter, and we all dress up like lumberjacks, because Chokesetter is actually a position in lumberjacking. Like, it's
I never would have guessed
that chains logs together. So you'd think it's more like a fighting thing or something. It's a blue collar label for a lumberjack. You know what I mean? So when we were trying to figure out a name for the band in this project, I was like, what do you think of this? And everybody was like, okay,
I mean, totally a separate thing, but it kind of reminds me of the band Jacqueline, like how they had the lumberjack song, and they do the they do electric saw solo. I mean, just something different,
Yeah. I mean, we definitely wanted to go for something different. I wouldn't say we really are a concept band. We're just rock and rollers, man. So
again, though, I love to hear like that story, because again, when I hear Chokesetter, I'm thinking, okay, that sounds like a metal band. Choking somebody or getting in somebody's face, and that's not even what it's about. And then kind of think, oh wow, okay, that has to do with lumberjacking. Wow, I never would have known.
Yeah, a lot of people don't until you hear the story. So
yeah, and that's great too when rock bands can educate people. I mean, like, to be honest, I mean, I learned about it. I learned about it in school when I was growing up, like a lot of people. But if it wasn't for the rock band Tesla, I might not even be aware of who Nikola Tesla was. You know what I mean?
I heard that a lot in high school. It's like, people don't even know who Tesla is.
Yeah.
Bothering me.
They think you're talking about a rock band from Sacramento. Yeah. And so you mentioned that as far as your local area there, you guys are running out of like places to play. So have you not played much outside of your hometown?
Well, no. We've really actually that's all we've been doing lately is playing the surrounding states and like other places in Indiana. Mm-hmm. We played a small show maybe a couple months ago at the local club that we had, but that club has actually stopped doing live music as of last week. So it's getting really thin around here. It's gonna hopefully, what I'm thinking is maybe go back to like DIY shows, and then what'll happen is if someone puts the money into it to get like a good sound system and a stage and makes an event out of it, then there's going to be potentially more people that come, because it's like, oh, okay, this place isn't doing it every week, so who knows when these guys are going to play around here again.
Oh wow, interesting. And so like, you're still working on, you're still doing live shows to kind of promote the latest album, but and you mentioned you've been writing some new tunes, but when do you have a projected time when like you might get another album out, or are you going to probably work this one first?
We would like to campaign this one for a little while longer, only because we're just now breaking out regionally to get it out. And I'm not in any hurry to release a new record because I still think this one holds a lot of water.
Oh yeah.
That's also going to depend on if we get any sort of management or maybe a label that will take us on. Hope. You know, we're hoping for that.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think people, like you said, are, like I wasn't even aware of the band, but it seems like you get a pretty good response from the video for Motorboater. You know, like what do you see? I mean, as far as people like digging that, and you think there'll be more videos?
We've already been talking about doing a new video just because of how well Motorboater's doing now, and I mean a lot of that has to do with Pavement Entertainment that's been working with us recently, and special thanks to them if they listen to this. Tim and Mark, we appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, new material. I mean, just new candy for the kids. That's always in the works.
Well,
for sure.
So, like as far as when you say you got a management deal with Pavement, what exactly is that? So I guess you don't exactly have a record deal. There is a kind of a wait and see, like how this does, and then maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that we had discussed with them. They heard what we submitted and kind of gave us this offer to work on something like a probationary thing.
That's cool.
And we were just like, sounds like a good opportunity, win-win situation. So hopefully they like working with us as much as we like working with them, and we'll see what happens.
And how did that come about, that relationship? Was it a matter of them reaching out to you? Did you send them a package, and then they called you back? Or
we got wind that they were looking for potential artists to help as far as get out there with exposure, and future relationships. And so we submitted our material, and one of the things was they're like, if we're interested, we will respond within 2 weeks. Well, they responded to us the next day.
Immediate. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good response time. And I got to tell you, I really hope it works out between you and Pavement, because they are a great, really label to have any kind of connection with. I mean, what I love about that label is, first of all, look at the roster of artists. I mean, you would think they would sign nothing but metal bands simply because Tim King, the bass player from a great metal band Soil, you think would sign nothing but metal. But I dig the fact that it's a label that's got everything from Candlebox to Puddle of Mud, and even some rap acts they've had on their and so you get a little something for everybody. And then I also dig the fact it's a label run by a guy like Tim, who's an actual musician himself. He's lived the life, so he knows what it's all about, and he's giving these other bands like you guys a chance to kind of shine the spotlight on.
Yeah, he's been the one that I correspond with, and he's been great so far. The relationship's still really new, but I mean, he's fantastic to helping us out and stuff. And I mean, we're looking for that. It's like Tim, it's still new and everything, but he seems like he really believes in the song. So what we need is somebody like him to believe in us as a band and realize, hey, if you give us a shot, we're going to work our butts off to become as big as we possibly can. So we're hoping. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I dig about the label. I mean, first of all, I thank them for a simple fact. They've given me a lot of great interviews like this over the years. And then I also, from my own experience, I see the way that they promote the hell out of the bands they work with, and they try to develop the bands, So like, if you release your debut album, it doesn't sell, a million copies right off the bat. They don't just drop you. They try to work with you and develop. And and there's not many labels like that. I mean, let's be honest. Not a lot of bands these days even have a record deal. So it's amazing if you even have that little bit of a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, the market's changed as far as having to do a lot of self-promotion, and there's a lot of bands that, that may have been signed back in the day that can work on their own now a little bit because it's all about social media. You get out there, get a promoter that knows how to do that, work the network, and us, we're older and have jobs, so it's kind of hard to try and pump ourselves and book shows and all that while we're working full time, and some of us have families and all of that. So the fact that the Pavement opportunity came along was definitely a blessing, and we're hoping that things like that continue to come into the picture. So.
I think you're in good company there, because you'd be surprised to learn. I think a lot of people would, that you take a band like Warren, even, that was all over MTV back in the day. Sadly Janie Lane has passed on, but those other guys in the band, they've got Robert Mason. He's able to fill those shoes and go out and play those songs that Janie wrote. But even those guys that were once making millions of dollars and lived in those big homes, they're doing weekend gigging now, and they got day jobs. It's just the music business isn't what it once was.
No, definitely, and I think part of that was being responsible with your money. Yeah. I mean, probably living that rock star lifestyle. You had all those big trinkets you bought, and the next thing you know, oh well, this isn't worth anything. So now they're not much different from us as far as working part-time jobs or whatever, and then doing music on the side.
Yeah, and there's no shame in that, because it's all about having a work ethic and working hard for trying to make your dream come true. Your rock and roll dream or metal dream, whatever you want to call it. And what's that like to you go to your day job and then you do a gig on the weekend or something? That's got to be like a great release, or like, oh, it's work, but it's fun too.
Well, my job actually is really rewarding. I'm a tattoo artist, so I love my job. I've been doing it for 20 years. Playing shows is definitely fun. I love playing in front of people and making them, enjoy the music. I wouldn't say it's all fun and games, because loading and unloading sucks.
Yeah. But on that note, I gotta ask you. So, like, how old were you when you first started playing the drums, and did you take lessons, or would you say you're more of a self-taught player?
I was a late bloomer. Started at 17, and yes, I did take lessons.
Okay, well, that's good. And what do you remember what it was about the drums? Why you chose the drums as your instrument?
Well, I always wanted to play the drums as a kid. My mom wouldn't let me.
Okay.
She made me play the clarinet for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then piano after that. My dad and my uncle were drummers.
Oh,
and my dad wanted me to play drums, but it wasn't until I was a teenager I was like, I'm getting a drum set. And I remember just bringing it home, and the rest is history.
And I don't think people realize that everybody in the band is important, but the drummer is one of the most important people in the band, for the simple fact that, like, when you go in and you record an album, the drums are the first thing they track. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, most of the time that's true.
Yeah. So again, and is there any truth to like wanting to play the drums too, because it's a great way to get your aggression out, or is that just kind of a myth?
Well, considering I've never played guitar before, I don't know. Yes, it does help with aggression. You definitely a lot more winded after a show compared to stringing. But I mean, like say Dustin and Steve, guitar, bass, they're pretty active on stage, so we all break up sweat and have a good time, But being a drummer is it's exhilarating for sure.
Would you say that you're kind of a physical drummer, kind of a showman, or would you say you're kind of guy that kind of just sits back there and keeps the time and does your things and just tries to play note for note like it is on the record?
Well, I don't twirl sticks or anything, but I definitely hit the drums really hard. My arms are all over the place, and I make stupid faces because I take the worst pictures ever. You know what I mean? So, I wouldn't say I'm a showman, but I definitely am not boring to watch.
Well, that's cool, because I think anytime you go see a band live, that's what you want to see. Not necessarily the drummer twirling his sticks, but I mean that's cool too. But just kind of a band that puts on a great live show, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'd much rather see even the drummer just kind of, instead of just sit back in the in the back of the stage, kind of being part of a show too and doing his thing and making people take notice of what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, we always get compliments on the live show that we do. Most people will just be like, I heard your record, but man, when I saw you guys live, it totally changed it, and that's a good feeling because we feel pretty good about how the record sounds. But when people say they see us live, they're just like, they're floored. So that's a good feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's what you want, because I tell you, me personally, if I wanted to hear a song, if I just want to hear a record, I go home and put the record on, But when you go to a live show, you want to be entertained. So I mean, if you're getting comments like that, I think you're well on your way. And I guess the final question I have for you is to talk a little bit about the power of internet. You guys must get people emailing you every day, or sending you messages on Facebook telling you how much they love the band and that. And it must be interesting to get messages, different parts of the world where maybe you haven't even stepped foot in, and you're thinking, man, somebody on the other side of the world is listening to our record or watching our video right now.
Sadly, we have not reached that point yet. So
wow. Okay.
Hope that changes someday. That would be nice for sure.
Well, you're well on your way. Like I said, I mean, even the fact that not just in your local town that people know who the band is. I mean, it's probably I would at least think you guys are reaching other states.
We definitely are. We've played a lot this year. All out of town shows. We've done really well. One thing we pride ourselves on is that we have a really, really huge variety and professional merch selection. So we make a lot of money when we play off of our merch sales. So
okay, and when you guys do like a show like that, when you come off the stage, you go and you kind of meet the fans.
Yeah, well, we're really good, and we have a system about getting on and off stage. We all help each other, so we can literally get on stage and off stage in under 10-15 minutes. Oh, so
wow.
We get all our equipment off, and usually our singer will run right to the merch booth to start selling merch, and we get our stuff put away, and then we all kind of go back there, because sometimes we have to sign posters and stuff like that. So
and I guess before we wrap it up for tonight, Larry, you want to let the folks know where they can find you and the band online?
Actually, you can look on our Facebook. Just do a search for Chokesetter, all one word. Instagram, we'd love some follows on there. We're on every streaming per platform for music. Everything from iTunes to Bandcamp, everything, Pandora. So just look us up and give us a follow, and hey, tell your friends about us. Well,
Larry, I really enjoyed. I know it's really late where you are, so thanks for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. If you like the way the interview came out, maybe we can do it again down the line, or next time we'll do it with your bandmate Steve, like we were originally supposed to do, but that didn't quite work out. But thanks for doing it. It was a great chatting with you, and I'm planning to post the interview within the next 2 weeks. Once I have a date, I'll be sure to let you know, and feel free to share it, and maybe we can do it again down the line.
Anytime, man. Yeah, if you hold on to our information, reach out anytime.
Okay, take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Chaotic Riff Magazine.